So, welcome back to episode 2 of Getting to Know the Major Scale. So, in the first episode, I had you learning the shapes of the chords, you know, the A minor, and D minor, and all those. Hopefully you've worked on that and you got that going. And you've learned how to find all your notes on the fretboard. Like if you start at A, then go half step to A sharp or B flat to B, and you've learned that there's a half step between B and C, and E and F. And if you've done that, and then you should be able to figure out all the notes on the fretboard. I'm not going to go through that because there's so much information out there on that. Hopefully you've got that under your belt before we can get into this next progression. So the next thing we're going to do before we actually tackle the major scale is we're going to work on the CAGED system a little bit. So the CAGED system is just an acronym, C-A-G-E-D. So we got your C, A, G, E, and D. So those 5 shapes are what the CAGED system stands for. So we're going to think of these now as shapes, and we're going to call them by that name. So we'll start off with the C, and we're going to call it the C shape. Okay, so if you take the C shape and you hold it like that in the open position with those 3 fingers, then you're going to think of your finger as this nut. You're going to take that nut, make that your finger, and you're going to move it up and down the neck, and you're going to bar across it so that it acts like that. So you're going to hold all those down with that, and then you're going to play those 5 chord shapes in front of that. So if we start off with this C, then we move up, let's say we move a whole step, and you've learned to know that from C, a whole step to the next one would make that D. So now you're playing a C shape, but this is a D chord now. Then if you moved it up a whole step again, you've got your E chord. Move it up a half step, there's your F chord. And you can do that with all of those shapes. So the A shape, same thing, and you've already worked on this because you were working on that to up here to move it to a B. So if I move it a half step, there's your C, there's a D, there's an E, there's an F. So now you've just learned that you've got an F, an F, an F. So if I take that from F, another whole step to G, then back to my octave A. And what this is going to do is make this not seem so overwhelming to you. If you understand that once you get to these double dots at 12th fret, all this just starts over again. So it's not too overwhelming, so don't let it be. So C and A, and the next one is G. So if I play it like that, then I move it up here. There's a G again, G shape, but this now it's an A chord. So I'm just moving that everywhere, and I mean, like if I wanted to play it right there, I can do my count it up: E, F, G, A, B. So I know that that's a C. Half step to C, a C right there. So that's a G shape for the C chord. So the next one is E, and you've already worked on this one too. So if I play it right there, there's an F chord. You already worked on that. You already know that. G, A, B, C. So, and then the last one is D. There's a D, and then this is kind of like that G shape. So these two are very uncomfortable to play it that full way. So, you know, you're probably not going to use that often in that context of holding it that way because it's just so awkward. And the same with that G shape. But I do use this all the time because it's a good power chord for metal. So I just usually leave that bottom string off of there unless I want to. If I want to make it minor, then I can do it like that. If I want to keep it major and I'm playing something that's not rock or metal, then I'll just play that shape and leave that bass note out of there. But just work on learning it right now. We'll get to all that stuff. And just learn moving it all up and down. Once you learn those 5 shapes in the major position, major keys like that, major chords, then learn them with the minor. You know, like the A, the B. So, and do the same thing with your E and your D. So if you're moving it up and down here like that, then you got to switch it. And just learn it. That's not going to be one, like I said, that you're going to do a lot, but you need to know. And you can do it like that if you want to and leave the bass note out of there, as long as you know what that chord is. If you know that that's an E, because you want to work on it like that, holding it, you know, just get your fingers used to doing weird things. So same with the G and the C. They're so uncomfortable to play like this because you got to do this crazy. And same with the G. But just know it. Just learn it anyway. You're probably not going to use those 2 ever, but just work on them anyway. And once you're done with that, then I want you to start working on a couple of other things just to give yourself a little head start. When you're making these chords, even these open ones, I want you to stop and start looking at every string and going up there and finding out what note is what. So break it up. There's E. This next one, if I go A sharp, B. So I'm trying to find out the notes that comprise an E major chord. And then the next one, D, whole step to E. And then the next one, so that's a G. There's a G sharp. So then these last 2, B and E, you know that's open strings. So one thing I want you to start figuring out with that all these major chords have in common is they're only comprised of 3 different notes. The other ones are repetitive. So in this open E chord, I've got 3 E notes, E, E, and E, 2 B's, and then 1 G sharp. So just know that there's 3 notes in every major chord. You'll do the same thing with A. You'll find the same thing in D. But I want you to work on that on your own so that you can start to figure things out and you start knowing notes inside of a key or a chord. Then you can get that stuff figured out. So work on those. Once you get those down and you understand that cage shape a little bit, the cage system, then we'll get going farther into the next one. Thank you.